On today's show, Heather Olson.
This is the world's toughest podcast. Welcome to the world's toughest podcast, where we talk about any obstacle course race you'd like, as long as that's world's toughest mudder. Each week we talk to members of the WTM community and share stories of success and failure in the single greatest event in OCR. My name is Will Hicks, and this is the world's toughest podcast.
Welcome back to World's Toughest Podcast. My name is Will Hicks. You are listening to a live episode of World's Toughest Podcast, filmed on location from the World's Toughest Mudder community group. If you plan to run World's Toughest Mudder this year in Pensacola, or if you plan to work pit crew, you should join that group on Facebook. You can find it by searching for World's Toughest Mudder. My guest today is Heather Olson. Hey, Heather.
Hi.
Heather, you ran, we're going to talk about the debut or the premiere of the 2022 race season with Tough Mudder. You and I both ran this last weekend in SoCal. It's been a couple days. Are you, how do you feel? Sore at all?
Good. I mean, I was a little bit sore, but I had a nice run yesterday and kind of shook that out a little bit. So I'm feeling great.
It was fun to be back out there. You ran World's Toughest this last year. I was thinking about it. We were talking this morning, and while I was getting ready to talk to you, I thought the last 3 Tough Mudders I've done were with you. I did this weekend, and we didn't run together, but this weekend, and then World's Toughest. And then, I don't know if you remember, at Lake Elsinore, the same venue in 2019, it's when I hurt my arm.
Oh, yeah.
On Funky Monkey. So it was, anyway, I got a little, driving up to the venue, I was like, oh, there's the Walgreens where I bought the painkillers and the sling after the event.
A little nostalgic.
Yeah, the bad nostalgia.
Yeah.
They say nostalgia is the pain of memory, and I had a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But my main goal for the weekend was to not get hurt at that venue. What were you thinking going in? What was your main goal?
My main goal was to just get it done. And I did. So it was a really fun weekend.
We both ran the 15K. I ran at the beginning of the day with the Legionnaires wave. When did you run the 15K?
I ran just before the last 15K wave. So I started at about 11:30.
And why did you start later in the day?
I started later because I was at the Spartan in Glen Helen, about an hour away, that morning as well. So I started with the Spartan, finished the Spartan, and then drove straight down to Lake Elsinore, parked my car, dropped my stuff, and ran the 15K.
So you had a little twofer. Is that the same venue that Tough Mudder was at for years and years?
No, I assumed it was going to be, so I was really nervous because, I mean, you know how vicious that venue is in the hills, but this one wasn't so bad. A lot less elevation. The hills were actually kind of runnable, so yeah, it was a different venue.
Well, that's good. You also ran Tough Mudder 10K on Sunday, so you got part of that unofficial SoCal trifecta. How was that?
Yeah. Yep, I sure did.
Did you have a good weekend, like overall, just getting back out there? What'd you think?
Yeah, it felt amazing. I had a really good Spartan outing, and then running Tough Mudder again, and especially at Lake Elsinore. I know it's a really flat course, but I really like it because I used to live down in Temecula, so it felt a little bit like returning to a home course, and it felt really exciting. It was a nice kickoff to the 2022 OCR season, and seeing different members of the community and just having the Tough Mudder vibe again. It was wonderful.
So I thought what we could do is walk through the map. There's 30 obstacles. Just kind of talk through, just people who weren't there kind of know what it was like. We can talk about the festival area, but also I want to tell people, hey, if you are watching in the live chat, feel free to jump into some comments. We will come back to comments from now and then. Yeah. Elliot Reeb says yes. He's happy to see us, I guess. Christy Puff says, hey, y'all. Hey, Christy. And then also, if you were at Tough Mudder SoCal this weekend, let us know what you thought of the event, thought of the, I don't want to say the race, because we all know it's not a race, it's a challenge. But
yeah.
So let's talk about just getting up to the festival, parking and the festival area. What were your thoughts on Lake Elsinore?
I thought the parking was great. It was just in that lot across the stadium, so it wasn't too bad of a walk to the car. And I thought the festival area was laid out really well. They had, I think, like at least 3, maybe 4 food trucks, which was really nice. So we had options. And my favorite part of the festival area was the fact that the rinse station was actually warm water, which we desperately needed on Saturday. So that was really nice.
You don't think about it, and we're going out there for a tough mudder, not for an easy mudder. I get it. But it is nice to have, I like to park on concrete or asphalt. And I don't know why, just because otherwise everything gets muddy and sloppy. And we've both been at venues where people get stuck in the parking lot after the race. And that's a small thing, but I always like parking on pavement, I guess.
Right. Yeah, that was really nice.
It was fun to see people from the community out there. I saw Jay Mazza. I saw Jaleesa James, Jessica Johnson. Yeah. And there were a lot more people. Who did you run with when you started?
On Saturday, I ran with Nick Artis because he also did kind of that double challenge with me. And then on Sunday, I did like Sunday Fun Day with Travis Langness and his girlfriend Lauren. So just kind of took my time more on that one and just enjoyed playing around on the obstacles and saw a bunch of people, which was really fun.
For people new to Tough Mudder, kind of what the community does, and it's open to everyone, but usually Saturday the first wave is kind of legionnaires, and that's people who've done a bunch, or maybe even done World's Toughest Mudder. They kind of go in the first wave, so we kind of see everybody, and hey, haven't seen you since SoCal, since Arizona, and then you do 1, maybe 2 laps, and those are kind of the first, a little more serious, but then Sunday is Sunday Fun Day. And that's literally like basically you're walking the course. Now there are people who like, all right, see you guys at the end, and they take off, and that's cool. But it's like a group of, sometimes it's 5 people, sometimes it's like 20 people that are just going out there having fun on the obstacles, helping regular not people who are like it's their first time, just helping them over through Mud Mile or over walls or whatever it is. It's a great experience on Sunday.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Let's talk about the obstacles. There were 30 obstacles over the 15K course. When you started, I was kind of not surprised, but there was a lot of running at the start of the event.
Yeah, it was a long stretch, which I'm starting to train for more mileage, so I was fine with it. But if I was less of a runner, I'd be like, where's the obstacles? I think the first obstacle wasn't in until almost 1.5 miles. Yeah,
it was a while. I was running with a guy, and he's like, "There's obstacles out here, right? Like this isn't just a trail run, a flat trail run, right?" I was like, "Yeah, they need to break the crowd up. There's no hills to do it, so you need mileage at the beginning." But anyway, the first obstacle was Kiss of Mud. What did you think of our Kiss of Mud at SoCal?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, all around, I would rate the mud on this course this past weekend. I would rate it 10 out of 10. Kiss of Mud was super muddy, which was really fun. It was super cold on Sunday though. Oh my gosh. Like I was in my race picture, you can see me kind of arching my back because I was trying to keep my body out of the mud because it was so cold it made my hands hurt.
Okay,
the mud was amazing.
We had the same thing Saturday. Saturday the first wave was 7:45. And you figure you start running, the sun's going to come out, it'll warm up. So you wear shorts and a t-shirt to the start line. It was cold the entire, it took us like 2 hours to do the course. It was cold the entire time.
Yeah, it was cold. Even running at 11:30, like it was a little bit warmer, but it was still pretty cold.
The second obstacle was Hero Carry. How'd you do on Hero Carry?
Fun, pretty standard. They made it really short, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah. That one, if it's later I haven't done Hero Carry in a long time, but if it's later in the race and if it's after hills, that one can cramp you up just from carrying a guy, extra 150, 200 pounds on your back. Third obstacle.
It's a nice little heavy carry practice.
Yeah. Third obstacle was Megamire. Megamire almost didn't see it. It was off to the side as you're running up.
Mega Mire was hard, like for the first time ever. It was, I struggled with it both days. Just that angle that they had getting out of the pit was just like not steep enough. And the mud was so thick and slick that it was a struggle to get out. I helped several people on Saturday because people just couldn't get out by themselves.
Yeah, and Mega Mire is basically just like a deep quagmire. Like you're just in mud and muddy water and then a muddy hill at the end. But you're right, I couldn't get out. I was there early on the first wave. We couldn't get out. I had to go to the far right to and there's just two of us in there. So we had to like, go to the far right and kind of use the corner to get our way out of there.
Yeah, it was a struggle.
The fourth obstacle was Berlin Walls. Pretty standard, but what'd you think?
Yeah, pretty standard, not too bad. It was kind of slick on Saturday, but it had dried out a little bit by Sunday, which was nice.
Fifth obstacle was Pitfall.
Oh, yeah. Again, kind of a simple obstacle. My strategy is always to stick right next to one of the sides and just keep your body weight low. So kind of crouch, keep it side, and it's super simple.
I like to do the same thing, but I also like to go behind somebody so I can see if they fall first.
Oh, yeah. It's also a good strategy.
Sixth obstacle was Mud Mile. How'd you do on Mud Mile?
That one wasn't too bad. By the time I got to it, there were kind of, like natural shelves that people had kind of carved out. So
nice, yeah.
I was able to get for each mud mound by myself pretty much.
Yeah, we did not have that luxury at 8:15 in the morning.
Oh, no.
The seventh obstacle, and it's one that I didn't know was back on regular Tough Mudder courses, Birth Canal. We had Coach's Canal at World's Toughest, but Birth Canal's back.
Yeah, I feel like it's been back for a while. I definitely went through it last year. Wasn't so bad. It's kind of small this time, but not too bad.
When I got there, again, early, Saturday-ish, the water that was in the top was frozen in the canal. And that doesn't actually affect you because you're going underneath it, and that water is still liquid. But the top of it was cold there Friday night overnight.
Well, yeah, I got like some sort of condensation on the bottom of it overnight Saturday to Sunday, because Sunday morning when we did the 10K and I was like sliding under, my back got all wet and it was cold. I was like kind of chilled after that because it was just that cold ice water.
Yeah. Okay. Trench warfare, next obstacle. Tell me what you thought, or let me describe what trench warfare usually is. And let me tell you, then you tell me what it was. Usually trench warfare, you go up, there's trenches, 3 or 4 trenches dug, and you're crawling, and there's like plywood or something making it super dark, and then there's dirt on top of that plywood. So you're crawling through these trenches, and there's like 1 or 2 90-degree turns, kind of dark, kind of claustrophobic, not really hard, but more of like a mental, like, oh man, is this safe kind of thing? What do you think of trench warfare this weekend?
Not so bad. So it was covered with kind of like this net thing. And I was worried that it was going to be tight like Devil's Beard, but it wasn't bad at all. It's kind of loose. So yeah. Just a nice little easy low crawl.
It was weird. It was kind of like a diet Devil's Beard, like Devil's Beard Light.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have to actually crawl. Like I was able to squat and just kind of run, not run, but hustle, shuffle through it. Basically, it was.
Yeah, some people did that. I saw that.
I wasn't super crazy about the trench warfare.
Yeah, it's not my favorite, but it's not my least favorite. So it's just kind of an obstacle.
Yeah, it's no Devil's Beard at least.
Yeah.
This next obstacle number 9, was, I think, the hardest obstacle of the day, at least for us when we got there. Cage crawl. How was cage crawl for you guys?
Oh, it was because obviously it was only on Saturday. It was only on the 15K course. It was torture. It was bad. So it was weird at first because I saw usually they do the 2 trenches for the lanes, but they only had 1. And it was so cold. About halfway through, like the key to that obstacle is staying calm so the water doesn't get all crazy. But so you have to go slow, and I'm going slow through it. And about halfway through, I can feel a brain freeze coming on, but I can't like freak out and get out. I have to stay calm. So by the time I got through to the end of it, I had a horrible brain freeze, and I had to stand there and just for 30 seconds to wait while it passed. It was very painful.
Cage crawl was always to me the mentally like the hardest obstacle because you're laying on your back and you have your face up against this chain link fence. Now there was no, they didn't have sometimes they put plexiglass over it or they black out the tarps. They didn't do that. But the water was so high that it seemed like you had to like stick your lips through the chain link fence to get like a little, and it probably wasn't, but it seemed like it. And it was
high this
and it was cold. And you had to basically put your face all the way under to get under the chain or the chain link at the very beginning. That was probably even with Worlds, like that was probably the hardest cage crawl I've ever done. And when I got out, it was worse than Arctic Enema. My head was frozen. It hurt. Physically, it hurt. That was probably the hardest cage crawl I think we've ever done, or I've ever done.
Yeah, it was painful. I actually kind of like that obstacle when the water's not painfully cold. But yeah, I absolutely hated it this past weekend. It was so bad.
After cage crawl was another, I don't know what you call it, flashback, another one, Crybaby. I remember when they introduced Crybaby, this was like 2016, I think. They only had it for 1 year. The volunteers working at the obstacle would be wearing hazmat suits, and they called it the tear gas obstacle. It was 100% like mental, just to like, and then you walk up to it and it looks pretty much like it does now with like steam flowing out of the sides of it. You look at the exit and people are staggering, gasping, like hands on their knees. I don't think it's as intense now as it used to be, but what did you think of Crybaby?
Oh yeah, I was bracing myself because I remember original Crybaby and I remember barely being able to breathe or see. And so I was like, okay, all right, here we go. And then about halfway through, I mean, you can't see very well just because it's so cloudy. But about halfway through, I was like, oh, I can breathe just fine. So I got out the other side. I was like, oh, that wasn't bad at all. But don't tell TMHQ because I don't want it to get worse.
Yeah, the race director was at the exit there. And he's like, oh, good, Will. He's like, when you go through, like, tell me how the level is. And I was like, oh, it's perfect. Like, don't.
Perfect.
I've only done that obstacle 3 times. I did it once this weekend, and then twice the year they had it. And the 2 times I did it that year, the first time it was fine. It was kind of like this. But the second time, it was like I almost threw up. My eyes I couldn't touch my eyes. It was traumatic. So
yeah, the first time I did it, I couldn't stop coughing for like 5 minutes. It was bad.
Yeah, that one is that one's. And again, I think it's mainly for people who it's a mental thing. It's like you got to get on your hands and knees. You got to go in this like huge cloud of steam. It smells like something. It's menthol-ish, but it's basically like going through a steam shower where you can't, if you put your hand out, you can't quite see your fingertips, kind of thing. So hey, let's look at some comments here real quick. Jaleesa James says, I took in water at cage crawl at the start. It was so bad. I was dizzy when I got out. Hated it. Totally agree, Jaleesa. Yeah. Renee Minuto says, just saying hi. Love you all. Thanks, Renee. Oh. Charles Halpert, hi, beautiful people. I think that's for you. Miss you all. Miss you too, Charles. Michael Lopez, hello from work. I loved the 5K. The rinse was warm, and that was amazing. Team warm water rinse. And Jaleesa, another comment. Hey, beautiful people. I was there. Saw you both. Great time, but it was so cold. Yeah, 100%.
It was.
Feel free to jump in the comments, and we'll come back there once in a while. Okay, after Crybaby was Lumberjacked. That was kind of a small version of the Lumberjack we did at Worlds. No sandbag. I think we just jumped over 2 at SoCal.
Yeah, just the hurt.
So it wasn't nothing too crazy there.
Nope.
So last year, 2021, I was kind of my year. I was like, I'm not gonna get hurt because I got hurt twice right before World's Toughest Mudder, 2019, 2017. So I was like, I got to get 50 miles at Worlds. So I'm not going to run regular Tough Mudders. I'll run trail races, but I'm not doing any obstacle course races this year. And so that's what I did. And I got 50 miles. It was awesome. The year worked out according to plan. But I missed out on some of the new obstacles from last year. So this is the first time I had done Texas Hold'em. Tell me about Texas.
Oh.
Yeah, tell me about Texas Hold'em.
Oh, it's a great teamwork obstacle because it completely depends on teamwork. I I think the potential to get injured is very high on that obstacle. So it's not my favorite. But kudos for a good teamwork obstacle.
You know what? I didn't even think of that. There's like a wobbly base with a 90-degree angle, and then you and your teammates stand on opposite sides. You hold hands basically, and you're pulling against each other, and you have to kind of you move your right foot when they move their left foot, and you kind of move. But there's a transition between the first half and the second half where you're kind of stepping out over air, and if you don't, we didn't fall, but no, you're not right. You're not wrong. I could get hurt there, huh?
Yeah, it's not the safest.
Have you seen people get hurt there? I haven't.
I haven't. I just I've seen people take some iffy falls, and I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I'll have to think about that next time. I had fun doing it once. But.
Yeah.
After Texas Hold'em was abseil, this was a cheap obstacle.
That was the one obstacle I skipped because it was a rope down an easily runnable hill.
There was like a slope. It wasn't even a hill.
Yeah.
It was like a downhill section of trail. They threw a couple ropes there,
Right.
staked them down, and put up an obstacle sign. So
yeah. Nick and my friends Justin and Paul and I, the four of us were running together, and we just look at the rope and we're like, why? We just ran past it because it was faster. So yeah,
I'd imagine some people grab that rope, but not. I mean, there's Glen Helen. There's hills that you need it, but
yes.
anyway.
This one not so much.
After abseil was sack up, sandbag carry. Is sandbag carry a thing? No, I don't remember that at a regular Tough Mudder before.
They had it last year.
Yeah.
It was all right. I mean, typical sandbag carry.
Yeah, me and my buddy grabbed two. Just it was a short.
Oh yeah.
Just for kicks.
Yeah.
After sack up was 6 feet under. I don't remember 6 feet under.
I don't remember either. Was that another pit? I think it was another like mud pit, maybe.
Another mud pit like the.
Oh yeah. It was another mud pit where the far wall is about 6-7 feet high, and
Right.
so it's just you go into the mud pit and you crawl out.
Okay. And then after 6 feet under was Funky Monkey. How'd you do on Funky Monkey?
Yay! Huh?
How'd you do on Funky Monkey?
I did good. I was a little nervous, but once I started, the bars were dry, and I had to remind myself, oh yeah, they're a little farther apart than normal. But once I got my momentum going, I was good, and I passed it no problem.
Is it in my head, or are those bars thicker than they used to be?
I believe that they are a little thicker.
So Funky Monkey is the obstacle I hurt my arm on, which I've told that story before, but it was nothing. It's just like a fluke thing. Like the obstacle it was just a fluke thing. Like nothing, no one did anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. It just, my doctor was like, yeah, you're just getting old. It'll probably happen in your other arm too. I'm like,
Oh, great.
thanks, doc. So
Yeah.
I skipped it. I skipped it every time at World's Toughest, and I skipped it Saturday too, just in case.
Yeah, I want to get a lot more practice on it because, yeah, I skip it most of the time at Worlds, but this year, one of my goals is to have a very high completion rate. So I'm trying to practice on it as much as I possibly can. That's why I was a little disappointed that they didn't have it on the 10K course. I was like, man, it's one of my favorite obstacles, but they had already torn it down by the time we ran on Sunday.
Oh, wow. I was talking with Chris Maltby, who is kind of it sounds like he's kind of the number 2 guy to Kyle with obstacle design and race directing, that kind of stuff. And they said that they want to make sure everyone has a full Tough Mudder experience. Because when you go to the office on Monday morning, guys that do it once a year, maybe once every 3 or 4 years. Oh yeah, I ran Tough Mudder. They don't ask. They're not like, well, was it the 5K or was it the 15K? Was it the classic? Because that's the real one. They ran a Tough Mudder. They want to talk about their Tough Mudder experience. And so it used to be like the Arctic Enema and Electroshock were not part of the 5K. And now it's like they basically give them not all the good ones, but like the highlights for the 5 and the 10K. So it's kind of surprising that Funky Monkey didn't make the cut there.
Right. That's why I was a little surprised too.
Jumping back in the comments for a sec. Ty Williams says, "See you all in Arizona." Cody Simon says, "My mid-sister, Heather Catherine Olson."
Yeah, I call Cody my mud brother because I've known him since 2016. We've run a ton of races together. So yeah.
Carlo Piscatello says, "This is a weird way to find out you've been fired."
Oh, Carlo.
Carlo, did you run Tough Mudder SoCal? Cody Simons, Funky Monkey is my favorite Tough Mudder obstacle.
It's the best.
What's your favorite obstacle, Heather?
I think it is. It's got to be Funky Monkey. I always look forward to that one, and just the feeling of swinging on those big wheels on the way down. It's just kind of a cool feeling. I feel really strong and awesome. So I don't know. I really like Funky Monkey.
I'm more of a Team Blockness Monster guy. I think.
That's a crowd favorite.
It's hard. It's difficult. It's possible to do by yourself, but difficult.
Yeah.
But it's the teamwork. So, anyway. So last obstacle we talked about was Funky Monkey. After Funky Monkey was Devil's Beard. Kind of a standard Devil's Beard. Net on the ground, staked down. You know, something I noticed this time is it's so much easier to do Devil's Beard without a bib and without a headlamp. Just like t-shirt. Obviously, they make it going up a hill or whatever at World's Toughest, but just the logistics of getting through the net is way simpler at a regular Tough Mudder.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I tend to walk through it. I tend to go through Devil's Beard like with a little bit like hunchbacked, so it goes over my shoulder, which has the least amount of stuff to get caught on. So, yeah.
After Devil's Beard was Skid Marked.
Yeah.
Just one.
After
one wall.
Yeah. After Worlds, I was running up to it. I'm like, I'm so grateful to see that bottom step.
You know what? You don't think about it. They made a few things harder at Worlds, taking out the Mudderhorn. Had no step at Worlds. We had that at SoCal, and yeah, it was pretty much one person just kind of pop, and you're done with Skid Marked. But it was a lot. When I first ran World's Toughest Mudder, I was like, okay, like I can run Tough Mudder for hours and hours. So if World's Toughest Mudder is one really long Tough Mudder, no problem. And it is a really long Tough Mudder, but it is a really hard Tough Mudder too. Like that takes steps away. Devil's Beard goes up a hill instead of it's not just a really long Tough Mudder. They make it the world's toughest Mudder, and I didn't know that going in. I wish someone had. I mean, I guess I could have asked, but I didn't know that going in.
Well, and I'll give it to the Tough Mudder team for this most recent World's Toughest Mudder. They made the obstacles way harder than they have before, in my opinion. I feel like they kind of upped the ante a little bit this past year, more so than I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I liked that the penalties were not onerous. Like they took time. But it wasn't like, oh, you failed an obstacle, go run a mile and a half. Like,
oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember those penalties.
After Skid Marked was Tight Squeeze. Tight Squeeze was very different than Tight Squeeze at Worlds. Tell me about Tight Squeeze.
I really liked it over the weekend. It was a legitimately tight squeeze. I feel like the one at World was you had a lot more space, so I could kind of like army crawl. This one, I literally had to pull myself through because those tubes were real low. And the mud was great. It was super thick and goopy on Saturday. It was so much fun. I really liked it.
It was different than Worlds. At Worlds, we had a tarp with like canola oil we had to slide under. And here it was, I don't want to say they dug a pit out, but it was a little bit of a dig out with the mud. Maybe they dug the pit just to make sure it would be muddy under there. That's probably why. And then you crawled under. After Tight Squeeze, the map says Well Swung. I don't remember well.
Oh, no, it's wrong.
Well Swung is the kind of the King of the Swingers, short version, like we had at Worlds.
Yeah.
But I guess Well Swung did not get built, huh?
Guess not. They had rope-a-dope instead.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. They had rope-a-dope. Tell me about rope-a-dope.
I am not very good at rope-a-dope. Usually, because my rope climbing strategy involves like a J hook. So I involve my feet, but you can't really do a hook with your feet on these ropes because they weight them at the bottom. So, and on Saturday, I'm claiming my excuse was I already did a rope climb that morning at the Spartan. And so I jumped out onto the rope. I slid down like almost all the way into the water. So I was exhausted, pulling myself up. I get about halfway up the rope and I'm just like, oh, I'm too tired for this. And I just dropped into the water and left. Because it's for such a space-wise, a small obstacle. It's actually one of the harder ones, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. The ropes are wet. And I don't know what the ropes are made of, but they're not like the rope at your gym where you practice on and climb up. You can't get your J hook in or your S hook, and it's a lot. It's just deceptively difficult. You're right. Kevin Chow wants to know if we're live still. Yeah, we're live, man. Jump in the comments.
Yeah.
After what did we just talk about? Not
Rope-a-dope.
Rope-a-dope. After Rope-a-dope was Widow's Peak.
Oh, I liked that one. It was kind of new.
I don't remember Widow's. What is that?
It was basically like a small modified version of Black Widow. So instead of all the different toe strap lines,
sure.
there was only there were only you would go across one toe strap line and you'd have one to hang on to up top. So it's kind of like a balancy obstacle that you just go across. I almost thought that it looked a lot like Castaway. So I thought that they had replaced Castaway with it, but it's basically like traversing Castaway on a long toe strap beam instead of the raft. So it was fun. I liked it.
Yeah, it's interesting. They've got that kind of almost the exact same build as for Castaway. Those triangular, I don't know what you call them, but you have to climb over this, aluminum triangle, basically.
The little baby A-frame.
Yeah, like a baby A-frame, basically. And it's like a ladder. They're like short steps. And then they've clearly found like a build that works for, efficiency, and they can run a couple obstacles off of it. After Widow's Peak was Twinkle Toes. Twinkle Toes was fun. It was the wobbly version of it.
It was, but it didn't wobble that bad at Worlds. So it was actually really challenging this time.
You know what? Yeah, at Worlds, we saw those wobbly balance beams. We got worried at first. But then after, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours, the sand kind of built up around the base at the start. And so it still wobbled a little bit, but it was basically just a balance beam. These were like, they were squirmy. I fell off a couple times.
I managed to go across without falling off, but I was real close. It was really challenging.
Yeah, I like that version of Twinkle Toes.
Yeah.
Next obstacle, 23 of 30. Next obstacle was Ladder to Hell.
Oh, yeah. I like that one.
Kind of a classic.
It was.
They even had the, I don't know if it's a cow or whatever, that skull at the top of it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how that skull thing started. I think it started at Worlds, and they just kind of kept it going. But I don't know. It's a cool. Like Tough Mudder and a lot of people have this thing about skulls. Have I told you about this before? Like, there's always like the holy grail is a skull, right? Like, and people get tattoos of skulls and like motorcycle jackets with skulls. If you get in a fight and your skull is showing, then you lost the fight. Like, it's
a really good point.
I don't get it at all. But anyway, I like that cow skull.
Really, yeah.
After Ladder to Hell was the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet was 3 sections, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah. Yes.
Twinkle Toes, rings, and then just the tip. How'd you do on the Gauntlet?
Good. I passed it. I passed it on Saturday. On Sunday, I went for the doorknob and slipped and fell. And I was really tired. And I was like, I've already passed it before. I don't need to do it again. But then like 2 minutes later, I was like, no, I have to do it. I have to pass it. So I passed it both days. But man, I love that obstacle because it's an upper body obstacle. But that wood really hurts your hands. It's painful.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting that, I guess, a lot of stuff has gone away from the wood builds, the walls, and even Everest, kind of, the exit to Everest. but they still have some there.
Mm-hmm.
Jump back in the comments for a sec. Carlo says his COVID isolation ends today. Congratulations, Carlo. Carlo caught a little bit of the Rona. Josh Chase says, "Can Overcome and Run come back? Best sounding podcast in the industry." Kind words.
I am still kind of. I think so. Yes, I think so. But right now. My main focus is training. But yeah, I am feeling like eventually I'm going to get some new episodes out there soon. So.
Kevin Chow says, "What's up, Heather?" And 5-star Will Hicks.
Yay.
And Carlo says, "I like these random things that bother Will." That's part of the. Yeah, I got plenty of things that bother me. I try not to talk about them, but no, you're not wrong. After the gauntlet was Everest. How was your Everest?
New Everest is a struggle for me. I was able to get it with help both days. It's just such a steep angle now. Next time, I did promise that the next Tough Mudder I do, I'm going to attempt the far left lane with the platform. I'm going to attempt it. Whether I pass it, we'll see. But
Renee asks, was it old Everest or new evil metal Everest with the cargo net?
Oh God, yeah, no. New Everest is just so much steeper. That cargo net is terrible. I do not know why they switched to a cargo net as a way to get off the obstacle. Ever since they changed New Everest and made that angle so much steeper and the runway shorter, it's so much harder.
When I got there was just 2 volunteers, and they were at the top of Everest. And I was like, there's nobody running the course. Usually there's, if you get there later in the day, there's guys hanging out up there, right? Just helping people out. And I was like, I don't know how. I was with my running buddy. I was like, I don't know how we're gonna get up there. I might have to climb up the back and help you. And then, but then I was like, oh, there's 2 volunteers, but they're at the top. Like, if you're volunteering, the only reason to be at the top is to help people up. So they were actually, they were there just to help people up, which was pretty cool. I do not like that cargo net at all. I think that was the worst part of World's Toughest Mudder last year was that cargo net exit to Everest.
Right.
It's hard.
I think it's kind of dangerous, personally.
Yeah.
Like if you're exhausted, especially for an endurance like Worlds. I haven't had a problem with it, but there have been a few times when I've been really exhausted, like either a toughest or a World's toughest, where I'm descending that cargo net and I've almost slipped like once or twice because my arm just gives a little spasm. I don't know. I don't like it very much.
How did we used to get down off Everest? Was it like a slope, like a wood slope?
Yeah, it was that wooden slope with kind of like a angled wooden ladder platform thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. At Worlds, I had toward the end, especially, I had to like chicken wing it in that net because my arms are so weak. Just to get down without like I'd have to let my elbows do the work on the way down. No, I don't. Not a fan of the cargo net for the exit.
Yeah, it's pretty slack too, so it swings in because of your body weight, so you're hanging too. It's awful. I
can't imagine 11:30 on Saturday when there's 30 people, 25 people trying to get down.
Yeah,
I haven't been on. Worlds, there were not that many people at the same time on the net. There were maybe 2 or 3, but I don't know. Not a fan. Michael Lopez says, in the Army, we had cargo nets like crazy on our obstacle course. I'd put my arms through the net. Yeah, that's what I had to do, Michael, just to get down off of. I think it's a combo of the Spartan purchase and the wood shortage from Rona. I didn't think about the wood shortage. I don't know if you remember a few months ago, they were like wood lumber was like 3 times its usual cost. I think it came back down to normal-ish, but I don't know. I guess the Spartan purchase, some Everest is better than no Everest, so I'm glad it's still there.
Yeah.
Hey Michael, I see your question about first timer. We'll hit that at the end for you. After Everest was Castaway.
Oh yeah. Oh, that obstacle. When I first encountered it at a regular Tough Mudder last year, I was so annoyed because I couldn't figure out how to get on without falling off. And I was frustrated. And I was like, this is a stupid waste of time. But I eventually figured it out and I got across. And then at Worlds, because obviously we were doing it over and over again, I found my rhythm and it's not so bad now. I'm all right with it now.
Yeah, once you kind of figure out what you're doing, keep your balance, it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's way easier by yourself than with a teammate. With a teammate, it's fun, but by yourself, it's way easier. So,
after Castaway, the 27th of 30 obstacles was Arctic Enema. Arctic Enema has had so many varieties or twists on it throughout the years. What does Arctic Enema look like now?
So the one they had this past weekend was like the easiest possible version of it, which I was very thankful for. It was just that angled, you kind of climb up short ladder to that angled slide that dumps you into that pit of ice water, and then you just crawl out a cargo net on the other side. So it was pretty simple. There was no ducking
your head under.
No, but given how cold it was this weekend, I was so grateful for. On Sunday even, I copied another Tough Mudder and I just lowered myself all the way on the slide. So I just kind of bloop right in. Yeah. And honestly, all the other water on course was so cold that Arctic Enema wasn't that much worse.
Yeah. I don't even know if I had that much ice when I went through. Again, I was like, I don't know, by this time, probably, 8:45 in the morning, 8:30.
Yeah.
But I know the cage crawl water was colder, 100%. I don't think I got my head wet at Arctic Enema.
Same.
If you keep your head dry, it's not, nothing's that bad. It's when you get your head wet that it punishes you. Jaleesa says Arctic was so shallow.
Yeah. Oh, it was especially shallow on, Sunday. My friend Lauren kind of like twisted her ankle a little bit.
Oh, no. Just off the slide, probably. Sliding down.
Yeah.
After Arctic Enema was Mudderhorn. Woo. How's your Mudderhorn?
Good. I still struggle with being able to completely get up by myself, just up to that first wooden step. But once I'm on the wooden step, I can usually cruise through that obstacle pretty quick.
I tell you what, the secret to that, once you get up there, is climbing up the, what do you call the metal scaffolding? Just
like the truss?
Yeah, just climb up that truss. And it's like climbing a ladder. Pop, 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 pop. You're at the top. And then this sounds crazy, and I did not believe it the first time I heard it. When you go down, there's a safety net. You're between the safety net and the actual cargo net. When you go down face first. Like, I don't mean like head first. I mean, your feet are below your body, but you're facing out. And then you just you're just stepping down on the cargo net, and you're holding with your hands, you're holding the safety net until you get to the end of the safety net. Then you turn around and finish. But that's the best way to get through that obstacle.
Honestly, yeah, that's harder for me. I go way faster facing the cargo net. So teach their own.
Kevin Chow wants to know how you like that ABC Soul Sour beer.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm drinking right now. It's so good. So if you guys are looking for non-alcoholic good options, very good.
Michael Lopez says he went through a 2 p.m. Arctic Enema. It wasn't too bad. It made the sprint to Mudderhorn seem easy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
After Mudderhorn, we could see the finish line. The next to last obstacle was a Block Ness Monster. I've never done Block Ness this close to the festival area. It was like right there. It was almost a spectator obstacle.
Yeah, it was interesting.
I thought it was a cool idea. I thought it was a great idea. I think it's either the best or one of the best obstacles, depending on your point of view. And it was right there, like 50 feet maybe from Electroshock. And so the spectators, the family, the kids, they're kind of lined up. They're watching Electroshock, but they're also able to watch Block Ness Monster. I thought it was a great placement. I don't know if they've been doing that all last year. It's the first time I've seen it on course, but I thought it was a great idea.
Oh yeah, no, this was definitely the closest they've ever had it to the festival area, and it's a really great spectator obstacle. So yeah, I thought that was a really good planning by the TMHQ. And
your wife can get a good picture of you going over, or the kids can cheer for mom as she's going over. I thought it was it's kind of one of those things where you're like, oh yeah, they should have done that a long time ago.
Right.
Oh, actually, Michael says I didn't like Block Ness was blocked from the view of the spectators. Some black boxes covered most of it.
Oh, because on the sides. Yeah.
I didn't even realize that, Michael. Huh.
Well, if you went down physically to it, but yeah, if you're standing back on the hill, kind of close to the festival area, you couldn't easily see it.
But people could walk down there, right? There was no restrictions on.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw some spectators when I got there.
Yeah.
Last obstacle was electroshock therapy. Do you still go through electroshock therapy?
I do sometimes. I feel like I've done it enough to where I pick and choose when I do it and when I don't. So Saturday I did not. I was like, I'm not feeling it. But Sunday was my 40th Tough Mudder. And I was like, I mean, it's not like a headstone, or it's not like a milestone headband right now. But I was like, 40, that feels like a big number. I should, go through electroshock to celebrate. It's been a while. So I went through electroshock, and I didn't get shocked once. It was great.
What?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I have no idea. I just run through it as fast as I possibly can with my arms in front of my face to make sure they don't hit me in the face.
Yeah.
And I just missed the current, which is great.
How is that possible? You were hitting wires.
Yeah, but like, as you know, I think the electricity kind of goes through the wires in waves, and I think I just caught it on a off wave.
You can't outrun electricity, Heather.
I lucked out.
I have never gone through there without getting my brain shocked out of me. Never.
Oh,
unless
I've gone through.
I've crawled under it. I've crawled under it at World sometimes, and that time you get hit once or twice. But like for the cover your head, use your arms to guard your face, run through high knees over the K-bales. No, that's well, good on you.
Thanks.
I feel like you should have done it a second time just to make sure.
Oh, I probably will. I'm. It's so much more of a mental thing for me. I've been hit before, multiple times. I'm again, because it hasn't hit me in the head, because I try to protect my head. Every time it hits me, it's not that bad. It just feels like a little punch, like when your buddy tries to give you a dead arm.
Yeah,
kind of like that.
Yeah.
But it's just such a mental thing. I get so freaked out.
I feel it in my elbows when I get hit. When I get shocked, my elbows throb. Yeah. It's weird. Kevin says, always got to give Clinton some love. It's good to see Clinton out there again.
Oh, so great to see Clinton. He gave me a little hype speech right before I ran in, which was fun.
Oh.
Yeah.
Michael Lopez says there's a huge part where they were separate, didn't hit a single one. So Michael Lopez made it through without getting shocked too.
Yay!
So overall, Heather, what did you think of Tough Mudder SoCal?
I thought it was a great weekend. I think that they laid out the course really well. Me being a little bit of a Tough Mudder traditionalist, kind of old schooler now, which is really weird. When they first introduced the idea of the 10K, I was like, why can't they just stick to the regular Tough Mudder Classic? But on Sunday, I thought the 10K went very well. It was a really fun course that didn't feel too short, which was nice. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited for the rest of the season because I feel like it was a really good opening.
I had fun. I had so much fun. I was glad to be back out there. And I'm looking forward to my next one. Hey, before we go, Michael Lopez, I believe, is signed up for his first World's Toughest Mudder this November. He's been jumping in the community, asking questions. What advice would you give to somebody running their first World's Toughest Mudder this year?
My advice is to just keep moving. Because when you stop for too long, your body's going to be like, no, it's fine. Just stay here. Just stay here. It's going to get harder and harder to go back out there the longer you stop. So my number one piece of advice is just keep moving. It doesn't matter how fast you are. It doesn't matter if you're failing obstacles. Who cares? As long as you're moving forward, that's progress at World's Toughest Mudder.
100% agree. When I first started, I would think, oh man, you get to do a 5 mile lap, and then you get to go back to the pit, and you get to recharge, and you get to. It took me a long time to figure out that the pit is your enemy. Like you need to get back on course as soon as possible. There needs to be a feeling of I'm here too long. I need to get out. You can use the bathroom real quick, grab some food and a drink, eat it on the course. There's trash cans. You need to get out as fast. And even when you feel like you're going fast, you're going to look back at your times and be like, that was a 20-minute pit stop? How did I spend 20 minutes? I got it, a water and a sandwich and I left. The pit is your enemy. You think it's your friend. It is not your friend. Like you can run, the difference between running like a 10-minute mile and walking a 20-minute mile, that's 10 minutes. That's you can make up so much more time in the pit than you can by outrunning it. You can't outrun slow pit stops. Like people talk about their diet, like you can't out exercise a bad diet. Like you can't outrun super long pit stops. That's the number one time sink in World's Toughest Mudder is the pit. The pit is your enemy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll just suck the time off the course. So, yeah.
Heather, do you have any sponsors or anything you want to plug while we're talking?
No real sponsors, but I am an athletic brewing company ambassador. So, again, if you guys like any non-alcoholic beer, which I'm still definitely a beer drinker. However, I have some pretty big, I have pretty big race goals this year. So I'm trying to cut back a little bit. So I'm someone who really appreciates beer. So it's nice to have a non-alcoholic beer that actually tastes really good. So I'm an ambassador for them. But yeah, other than that, just my podcast will come back one day soon, hopefully. So,
Overcome and Run.
Which is Overcome and Run.
On the OCR Report Network. Very happy to have Heather as part of the team. You know what? I don't drink a lot of beer, but I appreciate companies that support the sport of OCR. So companies like Athletic Brewing that are, investing, they sponsoring not just us, but all around the sport, athletes. I'm very happy to help support companies that support OCR, like Athletic Brewing.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, they're incredibly supportive of OCR athletes. I'm sure a lot of people have seen a lot of big name OCR athletes represent Athletic Brewing. And I really like that some of their proceeds go towards trail maintenance and trail cleanup. And they're really on board with athletic people and trails and nature, which is all of my favorite things. So I'm a big fan.
Tell me that flavor again you're drinking.
Oh, this is their Soul Sour. They released it for February. It's a kind of like a special release. So if you like sour beers, I highly recommend it. It's very tasty.
Heather, how can people follow you on social media?
My Instagram is at Heather Catherine O. So it's Catherine Catherine. That's mainly what I use. I do have a Facebook. It's just Heather Catherine Olson, but my Instagram is what I'm using more of these days.
Any last thoughts on Tough Mudder SoCal?
Just a fantastic weekend. I was so glad to see the Tough Mudder community, and I'm incredibly excited for Tough Mudder 2022.
Heather Olson, thanks much.
Thank you.
Special thanks to Heather Olson for appearing in this episode. Well done, Heather. If you would like to hear those live podcast episodes as they're recorded, you should join the World's Toughest community group. It's on Facebook. It's free. It's low pressure. If you're going to run Worlds, you should jump in that group. Any information you want, you can find it in there. Leave us a review on Spotify. I would love it. Or Apple Podcasts. Open that purple podcast app. Search for World's Toughest Podcast. If you want more OCR, go find me on the OCR Report podcast. Also, you can find Heather's podcast, Overcome and Run. I will talk with you soon. Go spend time with someone you love.